Disclaimer, this presentation is for informational purposes and is not legal advice, as every claim is different. Viewing this presentation does not form an agent-client relationship with Carmella George of Jacksonville Veterans Disability Services. If you have specific questions regarding your claim, consult with the veteran's VSO, agent, or attorney. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Been working hard all day. Just thought I would take a break, get on and take some questions. It's a beautiful day here in North Carolina. Amazon Prime Day, but I haven't done any shopping. So I'll be taking some questions whenever y'all are ready to ask. Everything VA disability, I'm here for it. I enjoy learning along with you all. So what's going on with your claims? Is your backlog getting to where you can take on new ASRs yet? I'm pretty full. I'll just take this question off top, and I probably won't be accepting new clients in November and December. But I'm pretty full right now, so I have a lag time. But there's other great agents out there, other great attorneys, other great VSOs. Find you a good one, somebody that will listen to you, that will take initiative on your claim, and that will do a good job, and get with them if you need help. How do you get service connected for carpal tunnel if it's not in your records while on active duty? Well, you would have to establish some type of event, either establish some type of event in service by personal statement and buddy statements or things like that. Maybe you had a desk job primarily, or firing weapons primarily, or something that would lend itself to a nerve issue in your wrist. You need to establish that something happened with the VA. And it's not that they will believe just your lay statement, but you can try, along with other buddy statements, to back that up, that maybe you complain about your wrist to other people or something like that. But it will be an uphill climb to prove if it's not in your active duty service records. The other way that you could service connect it would be through secondary service connection, which is connected it to something that you're already service connected for. The law says any service connected condition that causes or aggravates another condition, that other condition can be service connected just as a primary condition. So you want to use that to your advantage and service connect those issues that your service connected conditions are causing. How long does it take when you file a claim for a response to get back to you? Typically, you should see it moving within a couple weeks, moving on va.gov, e-benefits, wherever you track your claim at. For the ultimate response, which is a decision to grant or deny, right now I'm seeing about 3 to 5 months on claim decisions. COVID has slowed things down. Have you seen chronic fatigue syndrome get rated secondary to PTSD? Yes, but it's I'm not going to say it's the easiest thing to get rated secondary to PTSD because it just doesn't get diagnosed a lot generally that I see. I'm not a medical professional. Let's just lay that out there. I'm probably going to say that 10 times a night, but I'm not a medical professional. But in my experience, chronic fatigue syndrome doesn't get diagnosed a lot. You get sleep apnea, you get insomnia, you get other things surrounding fatigue, but not chronic fatigue syndrome. So that might be why I don't see it a lot, but I have seen it. What can I expect at a general health evaluation for my claim? A general medical evaluation generally means it's your first evaluation and you're just getting out. And so they're going to cover whatever's wrong with you on the day of the evaluation. That's what you can expect. You can expect to tell the examiner all your problems and get a full medical evaluation. That's what they're supposed to do. Many times it doesn't work like that. They just do the things that you actually claimed, but in actuality, it's supposed to be a full body medical evaluation. I got a letter about my C-file saying that I should get it in 5 to 7 business days. That was over 2 weeks ago. Should I call to see what's going on? I would call to see what was going on. But it's not unlike the VA to have a delay like that. So I wouldn't consider it highly unusual. The Virginia Department of Veterans Affairs put my intent to file in for Gulf War. That was a mistake. Can it be amended to name my specific conditions? So an intent to file is just a general broad form. It does not have to be specific to any conditions. And that's usually the best way to leave it, where it's just open to anything that you want to file. And so after you file the intent to file is where it is, and when you file the claim, it's when you name the conditions that you want to be claimed. But on an intent to file, it's not necessary to tell the VA what you're going to actually be claiming, just that you intend to file a claim. So I would leave it open in general and allow as much room for modification as possible. Still waiting on my claim and appeal. How long is my appeal looking? That depends on a number of factors, mainly how long it's been in, how many conditions were on the claim might weigh on how long it takes. Is it in the legacy system or the AMA system, the new modernized system? What type of appeal is it? Did you do a supplemental claim? Did you do a higher level review? Are you doing a board appeal? At the board, did you choose to have a hearing, a travel board hearing? Did you choose to submit new evidence? There's all types of factors I would need to know about your appeal in order to tell you about how long it's going to take and how it's looking. Do buddy statements need to be notarized? No, they don't. While they don't need to be notarized, I would include a statement that said, I know this to be true to the best of my knowledge, or certify this to be true to the best of my knowledge, or something to that sort. So it seems official, or looks official, or is official, because that's what the statement in support of claim form that the VA puts out states. So you just kind of want to mirror that and have some type of official statement at the end of the letter certifying that, it's true to the best of your knowledge. Or you can even certify under the penalty of perjury that what you're saying is true. Is 13 years out of line for legit claims? Is 13 years out of line for legit claims. Do you mean that you've been out 13 years and you're just filing a claim? If so, no, that's not too long to file a claim. If your claim has taken 13 years, that's absolutely out of line, and you need to find a good advocate who could advocate for you and get that moving, because no claim these days should be taking 13 years. And if you've been waiting 13 years, I would call, ABC News, NBC News, Fox News, somebody, get some reporter to do a story and get your claim moving. Can you explain the math for VA disability? It seems very confusing. It actually is. It is confusing. If I were to explain it to you, it would just be more confusing. I encourage you, there are a number of articles out there. There are a number of VA YouTube videos, which is probably the best way to understand VA math, because they do it by percentage of the body, and the calculation doesn't make sense, and it probably never will. But it's just a confusing formula. I was just talking about it with somebody earlier today. He got 80% today. He was at 60%, and he got another 40% for his back. And he texted me and said, "What's going on here? That doesn't add up." And I was just like, that's the VA for you. It's just a very funny formula. So I would confuse you more if I tried to explain it, just because in my head it's discombobulated. But I encourage you to go on YouTube and search VA disability math, and some videos will pop up that it will simplify it and make it real simple for you. Can I file lupus? Found out I had it when I was in my unit. I was really sick. All symptoms point toward lupus, but they treated me for other things. Yes, you can file for lupus. It might be an uphill battle, but you need to make it clear in a personal statement to the VA or through a doctor's letter now that all those symptoms you had in service were pointing toward lupus. If you don't connect the dots for them, if you don't write it out for them, they're going to look through your file and say, "Oh, there's no evidence of lupus here. There's no diagnosis of lupus, so he doesn't deserve an exam, or she doesn't deserve an exam," or something like that. So you want to make it very clear to the VA that a doctor has told you, a medical professional has told you, that all those symptoms you had in service were pointing towards lupus. If you could get a doctor to write a letter saying that, that would help much more. Good evening. Is sleep study connected to PTSD? This is a wonderful question. My answer, others might answer this differently, but my answer, and I'm not a medical professional, but is that it can be. It depends. If these days when I fell on it, I see about 50-50. Some doctors believe that there is a connection, that PTSD can aggravate sleep apnea, not necessarily cause sleep apnea, but it can aggravate. Other doctors just don't believe it at all. Don't believe there's a connection. They say there's two separate body systems and they have no correlation, and there's no causation. So it just depends on what doctor you're talking to and what examiner you get, really. If you have a private doctor that will write you a Nexus or write you a statement saying that it is connected, that would go a long way, and that would help you a lot. I know some doctors that will do that, but there are some doctors that will do that, private doctors, but generally, yes, it can get service connected. I see it all the time, but is it a guarantee when you file it, or is it like medical certainty that it's a connection? Not so much. There are a couple articles here and there that talk about some correlation, but generally you're just going to take some proof and a good medical professional to say that it's service connected to your PTSD, your sleep apnea, or sleep study. What does a TMJ exam consist of? I've actually never sat through one of these. I've sat through many CMP exams, but I've never sat through an exam with the dentist. And so, to the best of my imagination, I would think that it is an examination of your jaw and how your mouth is functioning and things like that. And it would probably consist of a lot of questions about what you go through, about the popping, about what TMJ has looked like for you when you were diagnosed, blah, 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 that type of thing. Hi, thanks for all you do. You're welcome. Question. I put in for a IU along with an HLR for 2 issues that all my medical records weren't reviewed. I got IU approved. So what happens to my HLR? Should I cancel it? If not, can it have a negative effect? How long are HLRs taking now? They send a message that they are correcting the error, but not sure if it's in my favor. I would need to know a little bit more information about your specific case to answer this question correctly for you in its entirety. But it's a good question. And is the HLR, is there any benefit to you still having the higher level review? Is there an effective date issue? Is there any other condition that might get rated higher coming out of the HLR? It sounds like you've already had an informal conference, or they've already looked at your case and they found the error that they are correcting. So your case is still very much open. I don't think that unless they find a clear and unmistakable error on another issue, that it should do you any harm to keep the HLR open. But I could not tell you that for sure without looking at your case, because that's a little in the weeds. HLRs, I'm seeing them take about 6 months right now. So if they've already told you they're correcting the error, you should still be looking at probably another month before you get an answer. So I hope I helped you at least a little bit there. I'm trying to connect my bilateral foot condition to excessive weight gain. What should I do? Can't exercise. You need to write a statement and lay it out for the VA that your obesity or your weight gain is a bridge for your foot condition, and tell them what the weight gain came from. It had to come from a service-connected condition. What caused your weight gain and how it affects your feet. And if you can get a private doctor's opinion on it, that would help too. CFS would not be caused by another condition. It can possibly be aggravated, but by definition, the diagnostic criteria for the disease must be a diagnosis of, oh, that sounds like somebody who knows what they're talking about. Sorry, I can't see who that is. I'm filing an increase on a few of my service-connected disabilities. Will I get evaluated for the disabilities I don't file an increase on? You should not. Unless it's time for reevaluation, unless it's not static, and like if the 3 to 5 years has passed and it's time for reevaluation, that might be the only way that you would get an evaluation if you don't file for an increase on it. I'm 100%, but how do I get PNT status? First, you need to check and make sure that you don't have PNT status before you touch your rating. Be very sure that you're not already PNT before you touch your rating. Secondly, the VA says that what you need to do in the event that you're 100%, but you want to be PNT, is that you need to submit a request just for permanent and total status. You need to do that on a 526 EZ form, the original application for benefits. and just put up there our requests for 100%, 100% PNT status, or our request permanent and total status. And they are going to, you need to also specify the condition that you want to be permanent and total. For instance, a lot of 100% ratings I see that only get scheduler is the PTSD that is not considered static, which means it's had some chance of improving, or it's the mental condition that is holding the claim back from being permanent and total. And so in that case, what you want to do is say, I request permanent and total status for my for that specific for that specific condition only, and not everything that you're rated for, because you don't want the VA to review everything you're rated for. You want them to review only the condition that's not permanent and total. So that would be the condition that's not static. In order to find out which condition is not static, you need to get your rating code sheet. With every rating decision the VA makes, they create a rating code sheet that comes with it, and it will tell you if you are scheduled for future evaluation or if your disability is considered static. And so you get that sheet, and then you determine what condition needs to be reevaluated or is up for reevaluation, and you submit an application to the VA asking them to reevaluate that condition and make it permanent and total. Had HLR, and the psychologist never called asking anything. Should I be worried? You had a higher level review. Why would you be expecting a call from a psychologist? Were you granted another exam? Can you clarify a little bit more there? I don't know if you should be worried or not, but I would not expect the psychologist to be calling you from a HLR filing. So the question is a little odd. When BVA granted you, how long does it take the RO to rate you? These days I'm seeing a pretty fast turnaround when it comes to the regional offices rating BVA grants. Like, I'm talking like a month or two. And so it should not take very long. There are exceptions to that. But in the case where the BVA is granted it and our regional office just needs to rate it, it's usually a pretty quick turnaround. Well, if you call 2 months quick, but that is quick for the VA. But it's usually a pretty quick turnaround. How can the VA put you on meds for PTSD, claim it service connected, but deny the claim saying it's not service connected? Okay, so this is where you need to understand that the VA, the VHA, the Veterans Health Administration, and the Veterans Benefit Administration are two separate entities. It's under the same agency, Department of Veterans Affairs, United States Department of Veterans Affairs, but internally there's two separate branches of the VA. The BBA, Veterans Benefit Administration, doesn't dictate what the VHA does, and the VHA, the Veterans Health Administration, doesn't dictate what the BVA does. And so just because you get a condition diagnosed on the health side, saying that you have PTSD, and somehow you were diagnosed with it because it's a claim you made about your service, does not mean automatically that the Veterans Benefit Administration is going to grant that claim. The Veterans Benefit Administration has their own set of policies, procedure manual that tells them exactly how to develop a claim for PTSD, that they have to verify the stressor, they have to go through certain steps for PTSD, and it has to meet the standard legally for PTSD in order to be service connected. So the two units, a diagnosis by one unit doesn't mean that you're going to get connected by the other unit. What you might get rated for PTSD from the VBA and diagnosed by a CMP examiner. But when you go over to the VHA, they might diagnose you with depression. And so the two branches just because it's all VA doesn't mean that they are intertwined like that. So whatever the reason was you were denied for PTSD, the rating decision letter should have told you exactly why. That's what you need to overcome in order to gain service connection. Did they say you didn't have a diagnosis? Did they say there wasn't an event in service that couldn't verify the stressor? Or did they say there's no link, no nexus between the two? There's something you need to overcome in order to get that PTSD service connected. Maybe you want to start by asking your VA provider if they would write a letter for you saying that your PTSD is in fact service connected. My appeal date was postponed due to COVID-19. I have not heard anything from VA since. Who should I contact to get my appeal date again? In this case, I would find a good representative to help you so you can get heard and maybe pushed to the front of the line again for your appeal hearing. It sounds like that's what you're waiting on. There is an email address, board, BOARD, customer service at va.gov that you can email the board and see what's going on. If you're at the Board of Veterans Appeals, which I'm assuming you are, and you're waiting on a hearing, and hopefully they will respond to you and get you the information you need. Another route is to use the IRIS inquiry system. Let me get that address for you. It's the VA's electronic messaging system. And you can ask the VA any question and they should get back to you within 5 days. I used it 3 times today myself because I keep getting errors where I can't file a claim for a veteran or something like that, and I need them to straighten it out. That's the address. No, let me see. I need to go back to your question. That's the address for IRIS to ask the VA a question electronically and in writing. They have improved IRIS recently with the number of different categories of things you can ask or make a complaint or things like that on. So I really suggest using it if you need to, instead of calling, if you need to ask the VA a question. That way your request is in writing, it goes in your file, and you can get a response from the VA in writing within 5 days. Like I said, I used it 3 times today myself, and it's a great system. So IRIS, everybody, and get familiar with IRIS and use it when you need to ask the VA a question so there's a paper trail on your request and responses to the VA. And it's good to use if you have a complaint about a CMP exam too. They have a place up there where you can complain. So went to the doctor. I already have a rating for back and knees, but the doctor reported that knees are bone on bone and back is worse. Both are worse. Looking to have knee surgery upcoming, both knees, and hips are worse as a result in back. Now have 2 bulging discs with pinched nerves in back. How can I go about getting increase? Okay, so let's unpack this. Your back and your knees are separate issues. It sounds like you're having secondary issues to both of those conditions. So what I might do in your case is claim your hips, bilateral hip pain, secondary to both your back pain and your bilateral knee pain. You might want to claim an increase for your back if you're at 10 or 20%, 40% is usually about the regular or the most that you're going to get for your back, unless there is it's an A word that I can't pronounce, but your back is like fused together, or the bones are on top of one another. Not just for bulging disc. It sounds like you have some radiculopathy going on, or sciatica, pinched nerves. I'm not a medical professional. I just see this a lot, which is the pinched nerves, and you might want to claim bilateral numbness and tingling in legs, secondary to your back. And I think I covered everything. Your knee surgery, the general for knees is about 10% each, unless you have instability too. You can claim the which means your knees lock up, give out, that type of thing. You could claim that secondary to knee pain. If you're going to have surgery, if it's just an arthroscopy or something like that, like a meniscus tear, you're probably, unless your range of motion is severely impaired, still going to be rated 10%. To get 20%, 30%, 50%, it usually is taking a knee replacement, partial knee replacement, something like that. So just be aware that it's pretty hard to get above 10% for knees unless you get a separate rating for instability. And so that's how I would approach your situation. But this is me. Also, remember, I don't have all the facts of your case. I'm just responding to what you just wrote. If filing for Gulf War syndrome, will the documentation from my primary care physician for chronic joint and muscle pains be sufficient enough evidence, or do I need a Nexus letter as well? You will need a Nexus. The documentation from your primary care physician that you have chronic joint and muscle pains establishes a diagnosis, but you still need a nexus between that diagnosis and your service, and a medical professional needs to do that. So get that done, and that will help as well. If sleep apnea, a Nexus letter was attached. If sleep apnea, a Nexus letter was also attached, was filed secondary to PTSD, and the diagnosis was from a private doctor, would the VA still have to give me a CP exam for it? They don't have to, but they probably will. If you file a claim, and only one of the items was increased, how long I have to file a reconsideration or appeal in my case? 365 days. They are granted some extensions now because of COVID, but to be safe and on the right side of things, you should try to get your appeal in within 365 days. Because you asked, there's no such thing as a reconsideration anymore. So you can't ask for a reconsideration. Doing so would be a waste of your time. You have to file whatever action you're going to take on an official form, the prescribed form of the VA, either the original form, the supplemental application form, higher level review form, or the board form, and get some action taken in your case. And while I'm on the subject, sometimes it's faster to just put in for increase again if you weren't increased on something than it is to go back and file a supplemental claim or file a higher level review or anything like that. You have to weigh the time frames in your claim and see, is it worth that 2 months worth of back pay? And I'm not Not judging anybody, because for some people it is. That's major. I understand. Go get what you got to get. Do you? But for others, you might just say, hey, they didn't give me an increase that time. I need a new exam. I know that the exam results I had aren't going to prove that I need an increase. I need to see another examiner and just put in for increase again. Had a CMP and they told me I need to file for carpal tunnel because my records from EMG, I have nerve damage in my arm affecting my hand. Also have cervical issues. Do I file these issues as secondary or how? Secondary to what? What else are you rated for? If you're already rated for secondary issues, you might want to file the other issues secondary to that, or your shoulder if you have issues with that, your wrist if you have issues with that. There's all sorts of things carpal tunnel could be secondary to. I'm not a medical professional. That's probably my umpteenth time saying that, but I'm not. But I see these things. And so you just need to get straight what exactly is the primary condition and what is the secondary condition. I couldn't tell you more without looking at your file. Been out since 98. 2 years ago, diagnosed with sleep apnea. I snored bad all my life and claim was denied and not service connected. Should I pursue? It's going to be a hard claim, but it's not impossible. You can't go, you can't hurt yourself by appealing it to the board or something like that. A veteran is competent to report his condition and not necessarily his condition, but his symptoms. And so your lay statement should stand for something, especially at the Board of Veterans Appeals or at a higher level than that. And so if you believe it's service connected, you believe you had a problem in service you didn't know about, if you can get some buddy statements, a personal statement, something like that, you might be able to establish that it's service connected. So it's worth at least pursuing to the Board of Veteran Appeals, I would think. Can migraines be linked to PTSD? I've seen it many times. I filed for PTSD increase, left and right leg radiculopathy secondary to my back. Back strain is 40%. PTSD increased on 10/10 a couple days ago, but the radiculopathy is labeled as deferred. But I have not had a call or anything for a CMP for the radiculopathy. Do I need to get anything to get this going? And if so, what? Can a rater service connect the claim without a CMP if there is enough medical documentation? The answer to the second question is yes, they can connect the claim without a CMP if there is enough medical documentation, but I will bet you 99.5 cents on a dollar right now that the reason that they deferred your radiculopathy is for a medical opinion, is for a medical exam. And so that's not a bad thing. That's actually in your favor that they didn't go ahead and just deny it, that they deferred it. And so you should be looking for more action on the VA on that claim. I would be expecting a call for exams. So any more than that, you probably need to get a representative with electronic access to look in your case. But it sounds like they just deferred it for an exam. I should add, while I'm on the subject, that the way it works when mail comes into the VA is they have junior level people review it first. So the rater is not the first person to touch your claim. Sometimes most of the time, raters don't get claims until after you've had an exam. So the Veteran Service Representative, VSR, there's VSRs and there's RVSRs. Veteran Service Representatives and rating Veteran Service Representatives. And so then there's coaches and assistant coaches, and it goes up the chain from there. And so I'm saying that because the person at the junior level could have made a mistake and not ordered an exam when they were supposed to. And so the VA didn't figure out the mistake until it got to the rater. And the rater went ahead and made a decision on what they could, but deferred the other part of the decision because of the mistake that was made and went ahead and ordered you at exams. I see that happen almost every day. So sometimes the junior people just don't know what they're doing. Do you recommend Nexus statements for all secondary conditions, connecting hips to already service-connected knees, feet, and back? I don't. And I say that because if you claim something secondary, about 90% of the time, you're going to get an exam for it. And the doctor doing that exam has the VA ask them for a medical opinion. Is your condition connected to the primary condition or not? And so you're going to have the opportunity for that examiner to give a Nexus statement for you. The question is, do you want to rely on the VA's examiner to give that Nexus statement for you, or do you want to provide a Nexus statement for the VA to already have it on file, which would ideally give you the benefit of the doubt in the claim when all evidence is weighted equally? And so, no, I don't recommend a Nexus for all secondary conditions. It's just a matter of some of the harder things to service connect, like sleep apnea secondary to PTSD. So somebody said earlier, chronic fatigue syndrome secondary to PTSD, migraine secondary to PTSD. I would suggest getting a Nexus letter for those things, but something like connecting your hips to your back or your feet, I might not get a Nexus letter up front. If it gets denied, I would go back and get a Nexus letter. I got a denial 3 years ago for migraines secondary to chronic sinusitis. The reason was that it wasn't service connected. The evidence reviewed in the denial letter mentioned that they reviewed my STRs, but they didn't. If they did, they would have saw where I was treated separately for headaches. The examiner even said no service connection. Would this be a Q or supplemental claim? It's a supplemental claim. It's not a clear and unmistakable error. They probably did review your service treatment records, just to be honest with you. They just aren't viewing it the same way you're viewing it. There's a difference of opinion somewhere is what it sounds like. And a difference of opinion is not enough to claim Q. So you need to file a supplemental claim with more evidence. That's true. The TMJ exam has a range of motion requirement. The examiner will measure how wide your mouth can open. Is it best to connect IBS to Gulf War syndrome or PTSD? Why not try both? You can claim it secondary to both. Sleep apnea occurred after service release. Can I claim it as service connected? You can certainly try. You need to establish some type of event or sleeping issues during service. In order to get it service connected, it's going to be an uphill battle. The easier claim would be to claim it secondary to something. If you have sinusitis, allergic rhinitis, some respiratory situation, asthma, it might be easy to claim it secondary to that. Easier, I'm not going to say easy, easier to claim it secondary to that because everything turns on the examiner's opinion. And there are bad examiners out there. There's a lot of good ones, but there's a lot of bad ones. And so you can Try to get it primary, but the easier route is to get it secondarily service connected. How long will my supplemental claim stay in? We don't know your status. I'm not sure. I hate to say that, but I don't know either. It depends on a number of factors. But generally, within a couple of weeks, it should be changing to under gathering of evidence or review of evidence or something like that. It all depends on how long it takes that junior level staffer to act on your claim. Can the VFW or DAV see my CMP exam conducted by an LHA doctor? They can see it once LHI sends it back to the VA if they have electronic access to the VA network, which they, as the VFW or the DAV, they should be able to get. Not all of them have it, but it's available to them. So what you want to do is find a VSO that has electronic access to the VA system called VBMS, Veterans Benefit Management System, and they will be able to track your claim, single thing that goes on with it, every person that touches it, every turn that it makes, and they will be able to see your exam results and give them to you when they come back. Some VSOs don't like to give out exam results, others do. So just know that. Does everyone get reevaluated? No. If your claims are rated as static, which means not intended to improve, then you don't have to go through reevaluation. That's a matter of getting your rating code sheet and seeing what it says if you're up for reevaluation or not. It will tell you exactly when you are up for reevaluation if you have a reevaluation that's needed. Do you know of anyone connecting vision issues to anti-malarial drugs that the military would issue? There's an expert on this issue about the anti-malarial drugs that's out there that does Nexus letters. One second, let me try to. Let me try to look that up real quick, because there are people out there that will help with that. But there's one particular guy who's known for that type of thing. You might want to look up somebody who does. I know there are people that do this, but I can't think of who does it right now. I've seen it before, once or twice. I would search the BVA database, Board of Veterans Appeals, and see if you can find it for where another veteran was granted from it, and try to use that same type of approach towards your claim. How do I obtain my C&P notes from the exam? The first way is you can request it from the VA under the Freedom of Information Act and the Privacy Act. There's a couple templates in the file section of this group on how to do that. The other way would be to find a representative with electronic access to Veterans Benefit Management System and have them get the notes, either tell you what the notes say or print them out for you or send them to you. I send C&P exam results to veterans every day. A good representative would be able to do that for you, or at least not have any problem telling you what the exam notes say. The VA denied my claim for my back without giving me an exam when it is in fact in my record 4 times. What should I do? Appeal? You should probably ask for a higher level review. Would I have a case for Q? I was denied cervical radiculopathy and cervical strain at, I need to see the rest of that question. Hi, Carmella. I have about 8 or 9 0% service-connected issues. How do I go about getting them increased? You just need to file for increase. But first, before you do that, today, what I would do today is file an intent to file the document, or either open up a claim in e-benefits, which will generate, after you answer the first few questions on a new claim in e-benefits, it will generate an intent to file automatically. I will file an intent to file so the date is held. You have from today until October 31st to still get paid for November 1st in claim world. And so I will file an intent to file today. And after that, I would look up the rating schedule. There's some sites out there that make things simpler for you to understand and see what the highest level is for each of those conditions. Is there a higher level than 0%? For instance, a common disorder I see among veterans is erectile dysfunction or female sexual arousal disorder. There's a higher level than 0% for that, but the higher level is 20%, and you pretty much need some type of penile deformity or something like that to get that 20%. So most people are only going to get 0%, and there's no point in trying to get higher than 0%. You're just wasting your time and opening back up the claim for the VA to find some type of error and possibly reduce it or take it away. Not that 0% can be reduced, so you don't have much to lose, but you need to see what the higher level is for each of those things. If it's migraines, see what 10% takes, see what 30% takes, see what 50% takes. So you're informed on the process and you know exactly what you're filing for. Now, if all this sounds too much for you to handle, sounds like a big task, you don't have time to delve into your claim like that, then find a representative. Get somebody to help you. Is seizures a secondary to TBI? I have seen it before. With 0% rating for anxiety, what all should I include when submitting supplemental information with a Nexus to get an increase? You got 0% for anxiety? That's my first mouth dropper. That's ridiculous. And the second thing is you don't need a Nexus anymore. Once you're already service connected for something, you no longer need a Nexus. You only need to prove the severity of the condition. And so honestly, unless you're just trying to hold the date or get them to go back and make that 0% higher from a certain date, all you need to do is file for increase again and get another exam, and you'll probably get a rating higher than 0%. 0% for anxiety is kind of, that's just ridiculous, because how are they going to say you have anxiety and then say that it causes you no issues at all? The two just don't make sense in my mind. I could be just being dramatic, but there's some cognitive dissonance there. It just doesn't make sense. You should at least be 10%. So I would definitely try for an increase there. Again, you don't need a Nexus. Once you're already service connected for something, you no longer need to get a Nexus. You just need to prove the current severity of the condition. What could you file secondary to fibromyalgia? I won't say the list is long. There's a couple different things you could file secondary to fibromyalgia, but that's not what you want to be fishing for. What you want to do is see What conditions do you have, and are they caused by fibromyalgia? Do you have migraines? Do you have other things that are related to fibromyalgia? You want to do it specific to you. I have been granted by the BVA for back injuries from July 2005 to September 2020. How long will it be for the RO to give me a rating? I would say 1 to 3 months, because they need to give you a rating too. I would say 1 to 3 months. Could be longer than that, because that's a pretty big claim, and they're going to have to pay out, it sounds like, some money. So, well, a good amount of money. So it might take longer than that, but I would give it 1 to 3 months and then start asking some questions. What I meant was I had my CMP exam and was full of inconsistencies. So I had an HLR and they sent it back to the psychologist so she can correct it. It was for PTSD. Should I be worried if she didn't call me to verify any information, because that exam was back in January? I absolutely hate when the VA does things like that. When you had an exam in January and here it is October and they're just sending it back to the examiner for additional comment. How in the world is the examiner going to remember who you are? That's in no way is fair. And I would argue, if it doesn't come back in your favor, I would argue it till I turn blue and get a good representative to argue it for you, because that's just not fair. It doesn't make sense and it's not right. But I wouldn't be worried that she didn't call. She probably just went and looked at your records and answered the questions. But for her remembering who you are, she just probably answered the questions based on her medical expertise, or went back and looked at her exam while she wrote and fixed the inconsistencies. But there was probably little reason for her to have given you a call. Okay, off my soapbox. I have a sleep study today. Can anyone offer advice on what to expect? They're going to put a lot of wires on your head, your face, your neck, your chest, everywhere. And you're going to have to fall asleep like that. And then they measure what your sleeping is like. That's pretty much the gist of it. The hardest part is trying to fall asleep with all that stuff on you. Do I have a claim for Q? At pre-discharge exam, cervical radiculopathy was deemed not service-connected. It was listed as chronic illness diagnosis and plenty of instances in my medical records. I never knew about appealing. I was asked for the decision letter for back then. 2009. It doesn't specify why it was denied. Know that unfortunately that's not a Q. What you have is a difference of opinion with the VA, and that does not rise to the high standard of a Q. What you can do is reopen it with new evidence and a supplemental claim. I'm sorry, but in my opinion, you don't have a Q. And I've won quite a few Qs myself, so if you had one, I would definitely try to help you with it. Do you think the VA will approve sleep disorder without a sleep study if it's in your medical records of sleep problems? They can approve sleep disturbances without a sleep study, but if you're trying to get sleep apnea itself approved, then you're going to need a sleep study. Was recently denied on a secondary claim. Reason stated was the VA nurse practitioner CMP was more persuasive than the IMO I submitted by a psych doctor. I have requested an HLR. What can I do to strengthen my case for the review? You're dealing with a nurse practitioner versus psychologist, which tells me that it's not a mental health condition that you were seeking secondary connection for, which is probably why the nurse practitioner outweighed the psych doctor to the first reviewer. Now the HLR person reviewer has the ability to change the decision based on difference of opinion. So I would argue my lights out that based on the benefit of the doubt and all things being equal, that what the law says is that the tie should go to the veteran. The veteran should be given the benefit of the doubt. And so there's no reason that the IMO from the psych doctor should be outweighed by the nurse practitioner CMP exam. You can't add new evidence in an HLR, and so there's not much you can do to strengthen the record. But what you can do is add argument. You can't add evidence, but you can add argument. And what you want to have is the strongest possible argument for your case when it comes time to have that call with the HLR reviewer to make him or her want to change their opinion about your case. Get the nurse practitioner CMP exam, see what the nurse practitioner said, see what the psych doctor said, find something in the law to support with argument, and go from there. Y'all are asking some good questions tonight. Can I get a rating for pre-existing flat feet if it was shown aggravated after I got out? I also have a Nexus letter to support my claim. You can get a rating for pre-existing flat feet if it was shown to be aggravated by service, not aggravated after you got out. I have severe TBI that is service connected. Now have been diagnosed with generalized seizures. What can I do? It depends. Were the seizures taken into account as a symptom when you were originally rated for TBI? If so, then they're already taken into account. If not, you could likely claim them secondary to TBI. But you need to probably get your original exams and see whether that was taken into consideration when they rated you the first time. What's the benefit of having a rating over 100%? First of all, there are no ratings over 100%. What happens over 100% is special monthly compensation. So that's the benefit. There's more money to be had over 100%. That's pretty much what it boils down to. But, you have to have things like loss of creative use of organ, loss of use of feet, hands, arms, buttocks. It has to be pretty significant conditions to get special monthly compensation, as it should be. If there is a Vietnam veteran who had significant health issues present but didn't know that they could be service connected, was injured in a civilian job that has amplified each condition, would he still qualify for benefits? The answer is yes, he can still get qualified. There is an intervening event type of rule in VA law where they will try to pin it on that second event. So what you want to do is minimize that second event and maximize or amplify the first event that happened to him in service, that he was already having issues with that stuff. If there's medical documentation of those issues before the intervening event, then you should definitely rely on those and submit them. But in any event, he should file a claim. If exams are done, why does it say they won't make a decision until May? They'll likely make a decision before them. That's one of those e-benefits forecasts that are just way off. Carmella and George, hello. Have you any information about a ACE exam? I have one with QTC this Thursday. Yes, an ACE exam is when they just review your records. The examiner reviews your records and makes a decision off of the record review. They won't call you. They won't need to interview you. You won't have to show up. They will make a decision just based on the record. What does adjustment disorder with depression mood is granted with an evaluation of 50% mean? This means you've been granted 50% service connection. You've been granted a rating of 50% service connection for adjustment disorder with depression, with depressive features, pretty much. That's a good thing for you. It means you're going to get paid at the 50% level if you don't have anything else service connected. Have HLR for PTSD. Was denied anxiety and depression but showed as favorable during VA file review. Positive medical opinion for in-service stressor. Is that positive for HLR? But showed as favorable during a VA file review. Positive medical opinion for. I think that's a very positive thing for HLR. Why did they deny it if you had a positive medical opinion for an in-service stressor? I think you're probably taking the right route with the HLR, and you need to convince the HLR reviewer to have a difference of opinion. Also, why would they not allow him to file a claim online? They mailed him paper form for him to complete. I have submitted 2 paper applications this week myself because I've had problems with the online system. So there just might be something in the system for his case that is not allowing him to file. If in any event, file the paper application and get it in. It's going to be for the postmark date. So fax it in would be the easiest way, or mail it in. But go ahead and get it in. I always say, if eBenefits is down, if va.gov is down, get the paper application, fill it out, use efax.com and send it in. There's always a way to file a claim. There's always the paper application. So don't let the electronic system keep you from filing a claim or getting your claim in. Go ahead and file that paper claim. It works the same way. They'll have it in the system in a couple days of them receiving it, and it will flow the same way. There's no disadvantage to filing a paper claim. Hello, I'm currently in the benefits delivery discharge program. I just finished all 5 of my exams. I called QTC and they just sent the last exam info back to VBA last week. How long would it be before my claim is complete? I tried September 1st. It should be around a month. If the VA has all your info, then that means your claim is probably moved to ready for decision in the system, and it's been assigned to somebody to rate. So I would expect a decision sometime in the next few weeks. You can also get a representative who can look inside the system and tell you exactly what's happening with your claim. How I have to wait to request an increase for, how long do I have to wait to request an increase for anxiety? I'm at 30, but I know I should be higher. Do I have just to continue to be seen with my VA doctor and collect more evidence, or just put it in now? Put it in now, put it in tonight, put it in today. You do not have to wait for anything to ask for an increase. Can you receive VA healthcare or VA disability with an entry-level separation? Yes, you can. File your claim and fill out the application for healthcare and see if they can get you in the system. I put in a claim and it was denied. I did a poor job. I then went to a VSO. Do you think I will get another exam, or you think they would use the original? If you have new evidence, you should probably get another exam. The VSO probably should have filed a supplemental claim for you, and you should probably get another exam. That's just based off what you told me. Ooh, there's a lot more questions. Higher level review found duty to assist errors for my claim. Then wrote and told me my claim would be approved once my buddy statements were certified and I submitted my Nexus letters. I did all requested and higher level review denied me even after submitting everything. I appealed to the BVA and awaiting a decision. Was that a violation of law? Is it likely the judge will approve my claim? Well, I can tell you this. There's a misinterpretation of what the VA was asking for, because they would not write you and tell you where you would be approved automatically with the submission of certain things. That just doesn't happen. So they probably asked you for certain items, but that didn't mean that you were going to be approved automatically. They just needed those items in order to process your claim. And so if you submitted Nexus letters and statements after the fact and they still denied it, you probably have a good chance at the board. Will the judge approve your claim? I have to look at your file to give you the likelihood of that. But it sounds like you've submitted more than enough evidence. But I don't think there's any violation of law that occurs besides the not granting the condition that, you could take issue with. Hello, if I had a full hysterectomy while in service and claiming it for disability, do I need a CMP exam, or can I get a rating without an exam? They're going to give you a CMP exam. Do I have to be in treatment for depression even though I have the diagnosis in order for depression to be service connected to tinnitus and back pain? No, you don't. That's the simple answer. Hello, my YouTube friend. I'm 100% PNT. Do I have any more exams? Do you think I should be okay? You should not have any more exams, and you should be okay. If you are 100% permanent and total, I would leave the VA alone, go enjoy your life, and just get the VA off your mind and let the VA be. I have service-connected tinnitus. I filed secondary migraines. Will they have me go to a CMP exam? More than likely. Would you recommend a Nexus letter for IBS if it's not already service-connected, or if you're trying to claim it secondary? Probably. I would get a Nexus letter. Do your results from the doctor go back to LHI or straight to the VHA? It goes through LHI system and then it goes to the VA. Sometimes these contractors have quality assurance type departments where after the doctor finishes it, they send it to quality assurance to make sure they've answered all the questions and covered all the bases that the VA wanted them to cover before they send it back to the VA. So that's why it takes some time after your CMP exam before you get a decision, because sometimes the VA just doesn't have the results yet. So that's a good question. I have received a request from the VA for more information from the Social Security office physicians, but the VA already have everything from SSDI office. They stated that I can send it in as well. I have additional records to support my injured back, and I will send buddy letters as well as the 214142 and 214142A. Am I on the right track? I have finished my appointment with LHI. Thank you. Okay, here's the thing. You can do that, and that's great. But instead of sending the 21, 41, 42 and the 21, 41, 42A, just get the records yourself and send them to the VA, and they have them, and they won't have to go chase down your doctor for your records. It's going to take 30 more days for the VA to get that form from you, go back out and ask your doctor for the records, and then for your doctor to turn around and send them the records. Doctors just don't tend to act on those things quickly. And so you can just provide the VA with those records yourself. That would help your claim move along faster. I have plantar fasciitis, left foot grant rating of 20%. Was told if I get it could increase me to 50. Could increase me to 50. They do not correct my foot pain. Orthodontics. If I get orthodontics, it could increase me to 50. They do not correct my foot pain. Strange, because I have been molded by a private doctor. Well, whoever told you that is wrong, because it has to be both feet. It has to be bilateral in order to get to 50. And so what you might want to do, if your other foot is bothering your right foot, is claim your right foot secondary to your left foot and get both of them service connected. I have a reevaluation date of May 2023. Do they always require another CMP, or will they possibly just review records? It's a slight possibility they just might review your records in what's called an ACE exam, but usually 90% of the time you're going to have a CMP exam. How long is the process from preparation to decision to getting the letter, getting the results? I would say 15 to 20 days. Unless you go on e-benefits and see the result. Can I file another intent to file if I have a deferred case? Yes. I was originally rated for 10% rhinitis. Now I've been diagnosed with chronic sinusitis. Should I request an increase? I would have to review your file to tell you that, but you can. You have the option. I have a question. They deferred my back. I went to a civilian and told I had arthritis. How do I tie that back to active duty? How long have you been out? If you just recently gotten out and they deferred your back, then if you were told you had arthritis, that would be a presumptive condition. But really you're going to have to wait for the outcome of the deferral. What I would do is get the civilian records and submit them to the VA. That might help you a whole bunch. Should my doctor use the rating codes for specific conditions he is writing Nexus for? For example, allergic rhinitis 6522. That's not necessary. What if you re-injured your body part at work while filing for VA disability? I would present it to the VA as this was a manifestation of the injury I already had. The injury just manifested itself into another injury. For instance, you have back pain all the time. You're at work, your back goes out, something falls on you, or you're at work, your back goes out, and you fall off a ladder. That was a manifestation of your back injury. That wasn't another injury per se. So I would minimize the injury at work, amplify what happened in the military, and that you've had consistent back issues since then. It wasn't just the injury at work. I'm currently rated at 100% for a single condition, and my doctor recently found out a DBQ that meets the rating 100%. I have a re-exam coming up. Will the VA go with my doctor suggesting to keep me rated at 100%? They have the option, so they will weigh all of the evidence. But if it doesn't go your way, you should likely ask for HLR and try to get the reviewer to go with your side instead of the other side. But hopefully the examiner reviews the DBQ that your doctor filled out and comes to the same conclusion. Have you seen carpal tunnel syndrome linked to a back strain? I believe I've seen it once or twice, but in this case, I would suggest that you search the BVA, the Board of Veterans Appeals database. If you go to the Board of Veterans Appeals website, right there on the right-hand side, I still have to put my L up to tell my right from my left. I know, a little slow, right? You're going to go right down the right-hand side, and there's going to be an option that says Search Decisions. You want to search all the BVA decisions and see if you can find another decision where somebody linked carpal tunnel syndrome to a back strain and see how they did it or see what's written about it. There's probably dozens of examples over the years, probably hundreds. Where do you find if you will have any upcoming reevaluations? You find that on your rating code sheet. With every VA decision that's generated, they also generate a rating code sheet. They just don't send it to you. If you have a representative on file, they will send it to your representative. So either get it from your representative or request it from the VA. But your rating code sheet is what will tell you for sure if you have future reevaluations or you don't. Can you file secondary to a spouse's PTSD if they were diagnosed with PTSD? We are divorced now. I've never heard of that. I have never heard of that. I was denied for my hands. However, I did computers and typing. I went to a civilian. She said my pain sounds like carpal tunnel. I'm waiting for the specialist to make an appointment. I have been through PT for it, but I have not been to go to the VA due to COVID and having a preemie baby at home. That's understand, but it sounds like you're building more evidence, and I would use that evidence I would go ahead and put in an intent to file, keep building your evidence, and use that new evidence to file a supplemental claim and get that reopened. Also include a personal statement. I recently filed an increase for my dry eyes as it has become more frequent, and the VA ophthalmologist subscribed artificial teardrops. What is the likelihood if I resubmit the claim? It might get increased. It all depends on the examiner that the VA sends you to. Usually I see about 10% for dry eyes. So I'm not sure what you are right now. If you're at 0, you might have a good chance of getting an increase. Hi, Carmella. I have an intent to file and the clock is ticking high, and the center I was going to is not open or taking any calls. What should I do at this time? I am at 10% for hypertension. That was 6 years or better, but now I'm on 4 meds 3 times a day and been to the ER for, blood pressure 3 times and it's still high. Can I open these on my own and how? Yes, you can file it on your own. But the thing with hypertension is you're going to need 3 high readings on the day of the exam. And so they don't account for medication making it better in the hypertension rating. And so you just want to be aware of that. when you go on the day of exams, that if you're taking medication for it and it's going to make it better, it might not show the full extent of your situation with your blood pressure. But I'm praying for you. I wish you well, and I hope you're able to get that down. But yes, you can open these on your own. Go on ebenefitsva.gov. It will walk you through filing a claim or get a paper claim application, write up their hypertension, and send it in. I just requested an HLR for IU. I'm at 90% overall with 70% PTSD. I'm requesting IU based on PTSD at that level. I have been service connected for it since 2013. I have been denied IU twice already. Thank you for what you do. Did you submit new evidence? Did you submit a doctor's letter, or a vocational expert's opinion that you can't work? That might help your IU claim. But if you're already at 90%, you're so close to 100. And so you might just be at 85%. So I can't say you're so close, but it sounds like you're really close to 100. So you should look into any secondary claims you can file or anything like that, any increases in your other conditions besides PTSD that could be had, possibly, to try to get you to 100% the regular way. That's what I would suggest. But if there's no way you can get that a regular way, IU is your way to go. And you're just going to have to keep trying if they keep denying it based on PTSD, or get a private doctor to write up something for you. You can find out what your routine future exam is by calling the VA number and asking them to check your rating code sheet that you request from your representative. Yes, that's correct. You can also call the VA and ask them, are you scheduled for any routine future exams, and what that date is. If something was rated as not service connected, and you know that you were diagnosed in the military, but you cannot get yourself records, what can I do? If the records were lost, it's pretty hard to get it service connected. But if the VA has the records, you just need to either get a representative that has electronic access to get you your records, or request the records from the military yourself, from the National Archives yourself. But I had an aunt that could not find her records for years. They told her they didn't have them, blah, 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 blah. She signed up with power of attorney. I got access to her file. I had her records to her in 2 days. So you just want to be sure that the VA doesn't have a copy of them. If the VA has a copy of them, then you can get a copy of them. Have you heard good things about the ACE exams? Why wouldn't they speak with the veteran? I am not a fan of ACE exams, flat out. I don't like that they don't speak to the veteran. But it's a VA process, and you have to take it as it comes. There's no way around it. If they decide to do an ACE exam, it's not like you can convince them to do otherwise. Hopefully, it's in your records what you're claiming. But no, I haven't heard good things about most ACE exams. Why can you file secondary to tennis pedis? I don't know. You can search the BVA database and see what comes up, though. I have completed my 5-year follow-up exam, and they continue my 100%. If I wanted to file a claim for fibromyalgia before the 1-year mark of my previous exam, what are my chances of receiving a PNT and not reopen any other reviews, since I just completed one in December 2019? To get to 100% PNT from 100% regular and not get scheduled for any future exams, then you need to request that specifically from the VA. And they're probably going to re-examine the condition that's not PNT. 1 second, I lost my place. What can you file secondary to hepatitis B? I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I will search the BVA database and see what other veterans have filed. The BVA Board of Veterans Appeals Decision Database. I was discharged under overweight. Can I submit a claim? Has that obesity caused any conditions? Obesity itself can't be service connected, but if it causes other conditions, then those other conditions can be service connected. What caused you to gain weight? Was it feet hurting? Was it back hurting? Hips hurting? Put in a claim for whatever caused you to gain the weight in service. What can I file in place of arthritis and carpal tunnel? Arthritis and carpal tunnel. Will a congressional inquiry help your case? It's usually one of my methods of last resort when the VA is not giving me what I want, because sometimes it slows down your case because they send it to a special congressional person who really has no authority to make a decision on anything, and they just send out form letters, and so you end up in a stack of letter and a stack of behind the rest of veterans who have filed congressional inquiries from the other 49 states, and it's just a hamster wheel. So it's one of my methods of last resort. And I think there are better ways to get to the VA to get them moving on your claim. Get a good representative and get them to look into things if things aren't moving. Like I said in the previous, one of our previous sessions, if there's a change management agent at every regional office that representatives should be aware of and know how to contact. That change management agent is pretty much the navigator inside of each regional office to get things done. And so that might be a better way to take than a congressional inquiry. But there are some cases that need that type of attention, that need media attention, that need all kinds of attention. If it's taking 12, 13, 15 years for a claim, get everybody you can get on it. Sometimes it takes going all in after something. What does a diagnosis look like in your military records? So this is a great question. I believe I was posting an article about this before, but military records are divided into 4 parts. It uses the SOAP method of writing a medical record. So SOAP stands for subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. The subjective part is what you tell the doctor. The objective part is what they find. The assessment is what they diagnose you with. And the plan is what they prescribe or medication they put you on or what they come up with. So that assessment part, when you look at your military medical records, you're going to see the doctor will have written on every medical record SOAP. Whatever it says besides A, that's the assessment. That's the diagnosis. I called the VA and asked for a copy of my rating code sheet. And they didn't know what that, oh God. I don't have a VSO. How can I get a copy to see if there was any future exam? I would call the VA back and try to speak with a different person who has more. You might have somebody who was new or just started, but they should know what a rating code sheet is. And I would try calling back a couple different times. And if they don't, I would get a VSO just to see what your future exam date is, if you have any. You can also request your code sheet from the VA, but that takes a longer time. So you can also use IRIS, the system I talked about earlier, the VA's electronic messaging system, to ask the VA, are you scheduled for any future exams? Let me put that link to IRIS back up. iris.custhelp.va.gov app ask. I'm sorry that happened to you. I had an over 3-year appeal and was denied. I was in the process of relocating from Germany to the States and missed the deadline to file for an extension to get further info. Now I have missed out on 3 years of a claim. Any advice? If this was recently, like since March 20th of this year, then I would ask for an extension due to COVID. If it was before that, then you've just missed the 3 years, and you're going to have to file a supplemental claim to get it reopened with new evidence. Will my LOD for PTSD from a mental health doc on base be sufficient to prove my case, or do I need a Nexus letter and CMP exam? It should be sufficient to prove your case, but you're still going to need a CMP exam. You already have a diagnosis, so you don't necessarily need a Nexus letter. You should have sufficient evidence to prove PTSD. I received a denial for my GERD, IBS, and chronic gastritis from upper level review. However, the letter is a bit confusing. There's a section in the letter labeled favorable findings identified in the condition in the decision. What does that mean? So, under the new Appeals Modernization Act, every decision now has a section called favorable findings, and it's basically the things that were in your favor in the decision, even though they denied it. So, for instance, there's 3 parts to a primary claim, a direct service claim. There's a diagnosis in service, an event in service, event or injury or disease or something like that. There's a nexus between the injury and the current condition, and there's the current condition. There's 3 parts: the current condition, the nexus, and the in-service event. If you just have the in-service event and don't have the other 2 things, they're going to put that as a favorable finding. If you just have the current diagnosis but don't have the in-service event or the nexus, they're going to put that as a favorable finding. So they're going to put the parts of the claim that are working in your favor, they're going to put that under favorable findings. And so you need to prove the other parts that aren't there in order to prove your claim. Can you connect obesity to sleep apnea? You can, but obesity is not a condition that the VA considers you can be service connected for. And so it's not possible to get that service connected. The question is, what does the obesity cause? Has the obesity caused you diabetes? Has it caused high blood pressure? Has it caused your feet to hurt? Has it caused your back to hurt? That's the condition that you want to apply for secondary to sleep apnea. Can you explain if there's actually more payment if you're more than 100%? There is. You can be 100%, and that's the highest rating you can get. But you can also gain what's called special monthly compensation if you have severe and traumatic injuries, or you require aid and attendance or something like that. For instance, erectile dysfunction is the most common form of SMC, special monthly compensation, SMCK, where you had the loss of use of a creative organ. So you get paid an extra $100 a month on top of your 100% rating for loss of use of a creative organ due to erectile dysfunction. That's how special monthly compensation works. It's over and above the 100% rate. It's just another payment over and above the 100% rate. But it's for like loss of use of hands, loss of sight, loss of hearing, pretty much things don't work anymore, amputations, things like that. Can you claim patello pain syndrome? I think it's a longer word than that, patello-femoral or something like that. But yes, you can claim that. I've seen it many, many times. I have been out since 2010. I have had hands pains and back pain since then, but I didn't know I could claim it. Well, put in the claim now and see how it goes. I'm 100% PNT. Do I get more exams, or you think I should be okay? You should be okay if you're 100% PNT. I went through med board 16 years ago for seizure disorder. My rating for seizures has fluctuated because seizures come and go. At what point can I ask for PNT? The RFE is keeping me from being PFT. You can ask for PNT anytime after you get 100% at 100% scheduler. And so, but just know that that's going to come with the reevaluation of the condition that's not PNT. So you're going to have to go through one more evaluation for seizure disorder. Do I need to file a separate claim for plantar fasciitis in both feet if I already have a claim in severe arthritis in my hips, knees, and lower back? I have a Nexus letter from my podiatrist connecting these disabilities to my broken toe. He stated that I have plantar fasciitis in both feet from my compensating for my pain in my toe. Yes, you're going to need to file a separate claim for plantar fasciitis secondary to your toe. That's secondary from your hips, your knees, and your lower back. I mean, separate from your hips, your knees, and your lower back. Is Parkinson's disease considered a static condition? In most cases, I've seen it is, but whether something is static or not is a decision that the rater makes. So it's individual and specific to every case. And so you're going to need to get your rating code sheet to see if yours is static. Because just because somebody else's is static doesn't mean yours is static. Just because yours is static doesn't mean somebody else's is static. Catch my drift? We have been waiting since March to get our service records. Oh boy, I'm sorry that you've been waiting so long. Ma'am, I'm double rated for my knees, surgery, 10% each and 30% for instability. I filed a claim secondary for my back and hips for overcompensation and was denied, even with DBQs from my civilian doc. I have a spinal stimulator. What do I need to do to connect my back and hips to my knees? You need more than a DBQ. You're going to need a Nexus letter to connect those things to your knees. And so go back to your doctor, ask them to write a Nexus letter, and go back to your doctor, ask them to write a Nexus letter, and submit that with a supplemental claim and get those denials reopened. I had a CMP done for my wrist for chronic pain and numbness in my hand. Had an x-ray done that both wrists have generalized osteoarthritis. My left wrist worse than my right. What do you think will happen? I'm not sure. I can't tell you based off what you just told me. It could go your way, it could not. I'm not sure. I'm not necessarily a fortune teller, but I'm gonna need a little more information than that to tell you how it might go. When filing a claim and you want to reference a case previously ruled on by the Board of Veterans Appeals, how would you suggest the case be documented in the claim? I would just reference it and attach it I would reference it as the attached claim, or in the Board of Veterans Appeals case in attachment A, exhibit A, something like that. How long does it take to get a decision on increases for my service-connected broken toe and hemorrhoids? I had a CMP exam back in August. I'm currently 0% for both, but I submitted new evidence and showed they have gotten worse. You should be getting a decision soon if you had CMP exams in August. But I should tell you that it's terribly, terribly difficult to get higher than 0% for hemorrhoids. I see it all the time. Everybody has them. You know, it's nothing to be ashamed about, but it's terribly difficult to get higher than 0% for hemorrhoids, just like it's terribly difficult to get higher than 0% for erectile dysfunction. It's just those things aren't looked at as real serious. Well, I don't want to say serious, but you know, things that weigh as a more percentage in the VA eyes. Hello, Carmella. Hey, from Savannah, GA. Hey, Savannah, that's a beautiful city. Is it possible to have a telehealth CMP with VES and now QTC is reviewing the medical records now for sleep apnea? Yes, it is. Because sometimes when the VA gets a medical opinion back, a decision, results back from an examiner, and they aren't sufficient or there's something missing, they will send it back out to any medical professional to get them more information that they need. So it is possible for it to go to a different company for review. Will my LOD for PTSD be sufficient evidence to prove my case? I think I already answered this, but you don't need a Nexus letter, but you will get a CMP exam. Are you a VSO? No, I'm not a VSO. I'm a VA accredited claims agent. I got hurt in basic training in '83. Can I file a claim? Yes, you can. It does not matter how long you've been out of service. File it today, file it tonight. Stop watching me go on e-benefits and file your claim. I faxed paperwork for TDIU last week. The VA called and set 2 appointments. One mental health, currently 7%, and one medical appointment, back 40%. Is this normal? Can they increase or decrease my percentages to bring me to a scheduler 100%? Yes, it's normal. Yes, they can increase or decrease your percentages. And yes, it could possibly bring you to scheduler 100%. I have a pacemaker claim is in under secondary. LHI found in normal beat. Was sent to a hospital for an exam, outside hospital for an exam. Now I got to travel 100 miles for a VES exam on my eyes. Is this a normal thing? They denied my PTSD. Yes, unfortunately, that's normal. I got out in 2000, was overweight, developed diabetes about 2 years after reserves. I'm SC for bilateral flat feet at 10%. Help. First of all, put in for an increase of your feet. It probably shouldn't be at 10%. There's higher levels. But there's a number of things you can claim secondary to your feet. What you want to do if you're trying to gain service connection for diabetes secondary to your feet is write out a statement that says, I believe because of my feet, I have not been able to exercise properly, and therefore I gained weight, which caused my diabetes. Period. And send that in with your claim. What happens when they close all your claims for request? Also, I filed benefits before discharge. They usually are ready for rating then. That's what happens. I am in trouble. I'm a Marine with a growing number of things. When I get a good VSO, I can't work due to hokum. PTSD, 10% for my left knee was destroyed, my right knee, and I've had to have it replaced. And if I have 4 denials, why don't the VA document the claim instead of files altogether? I'm so sorry, but I really don't understand the question. I just got my decision on my initial claim for quite a few items, most denied. And appealing decisions, or in one case, a rating, can they be done individually rather than all at once? For instance, for PTSD, I'd like to do HLR, but some others I need to provide a nexus. Also, what is the wisest way to pursue appealing decisions, or in the one case, a rating? Thank you for what you do. Yes, they can be individually rather than all at once, but you want to make sure that you don't miss any deadlines. Never miss any deadlines with the VSA, with the VA. Yes, you can do HLR for one condition and do supplemental claim for one and do board appeal for one. You can do different lanes for different conditions. That's an excellent question. What happens if you don't attend a CMP exam? Will they make a decision on just the DBQ? They probably should, but they likely won't. The VA does not like when you miss CMP exams. I never tell a veteran to miss CMP exams. I don't co-sign on those that do tell veterans to miss CMP exams. If you are scheduled for a CMP exam, please go. Can I file for anxiety and depression because of my pain for service-connected problems? I see this every single day. Yes, that's a valid claim. If it's called your service-connected conditions are causing anxiety or depression, please file for it. All right, guys, that looks like all the questions for tonight. I'm glad that we spent a couple hours together. Hopefully I've been of some help to you. Just know that you don't have to inbox me every question. The group has 40,000 members, and there's some wonderful experts in the group. We have medical professionals, we have lawyers, we have doctors, physician assistants, nurse practitioners in the group. We have experts on veterans benefits. I'm not the only one. I love doing this and I love helping veterans, but I'm not the only one in the group. There are many more people. And so know that you don't have to inbox me every question. You can put it out to the group and get a variety of answers. Hopefully the answers are consistent, but you can get a variety of opinions on your question. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your service, and y'all have a wonderful night.